Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this county board meeting to order Wednesday, July 28th. It is 6 p.m. For those supervisors that haven't, would you push your 10 button at this time? Also, as a courtesy, cell phones, please put them on vibrate, mute, or whatever have you. And then if we could all rise for a moment of silent meditation, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. Once again, I would ask that you keep in mind our members of the armed forces that are serving here and abroad, their families, whether they be white, black, Native American, if they are wearing the U.S. colors, they are Americans and we should honor them. So please keep their families and themselves in mind, also our men and women in our protective services. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if we could move right along, we are on item number 3, approval of the May County Board minutes. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by John Zvizik, seconded by Tom Kulza. Comments or questions, please, on last month's regular County Board minutes? Anybody? Bonnie, push your button. Excuse me. Your button, please. Microphone. There you go. Now I can hear you.
I think it was on that where they had the next meeting date wrong.
Yes, at the tail end of our agenda, what you see on there for our next meeting date is tonight's date, not July's date, which should read...
Well, on the minutes from last time, they have July's date.
Okay. Corrected, right?
Probably should be corrected.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Comments or questions on the May County Board minutes? Otherwise, we can do this by acclamation. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item 4 on our agenda tonight is public comment. Anybody in the back, if you wish to comment at this time, please raise your hand. Okay, I see none. We are going to move forward. Item 5 on our agenda, motion to deviate from the order of our agenda if necessary. Motion by Kevin Conrad, seconded by Bill Burkhan. Once again, by acclamation, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item 6, excuse me, Chairman's report. Just so you are aware, item 9 on our agenda has been removed. We were going to have a guest speaker, a judge from Willamette County, correct? But he is ill, and District Attorney Parker and Judge Kissel asked if that could be held over for next month's meeting. Obviously, they have more control than me, so they are going to be granted that. So we will discuss that next month. Then one other thing I would ask Tony, because it was an article in the paper regarding the lawsuit, I would ask Tony to speak at this time. Tony, please.
Thanks. Yeah, if you haven't read in the paper, we had been, the county and a number of committee members and the sheriff had been sued by a former deputy. Long story short, it's now been completely successfully defended. It's over, no liability, no damages, and all is done. So that's good, and we can move on from here. Thanks.
You're more than welcome. This was kind of, in my opinion, a frivolous lawsuit anyway, but it is, we have been exonerated. We did what was required of us to do, and that's what the judge felt. So we are moving forward. Okay, let's move on to item 7 on our agenda, please. Pam, any petitions or communications to the county board?
No.
Nope. Okay, thank you very much. That brings us to item 8 on our agenda, resolution number 36-17. Please, Pam.
To approve funding and construction of a new Shawano County evidence storage facility. Now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 28th day of June 2017 that the County Board hereby approves the construction of the evidence storage facility as set forth in Exhibit 1 attached hereto and having the estimated costs and features as set forth in Exhibits 2 and 3 attached. Be it further resolved that that oversight of the project, including approval of any necessary bids, demolition, construction, and associated tasks necessary to complete the project within the scope of this resolution shall be delegated to the Public Safety Committee with input from staff as the committee deems appropriate. Be it further resolved that the funding for the project herein is approved for up to $1.1 million and shall be made from the general fund. If any costs beyond the $1.1 million are necessary for the project, they shall be approved in advance by the Shawano County Board, submitted by the Public Safety and Finance Committee.
Could I have a motion to approve this resolution? Motion by John Zizek, seconded by Mark Boland. Comments or questions, please? Deb Nofke.
My comment was from a couple items back. I wanted to know if we were going to be able to recoup our costs of all the wasted time.
We're done with that.
Okay. Yep, sorry about not seeing your light, Deb. Then I would ask Brent Miller to come and speak, Sheriff Bieber, President Shannon Hosey, anybody, we got Mr. Mall. More than welcome to give input here. Let's see. Bill Burkon, your light's on.
Yep. I only have one comment to make, and this is, I believe in the project. I think it's a good idea. This is something that I think this county board's been kicking down the road for a long time. But just a few months ago, I'd heard the comment that the communication system on the east end of the county, they know there's a problem, but financially, we can't afford it. And now, a couple months down the road, financially, we can afford this building. We have other things out there also that are very important that involve the lives of people, and financially we can't afford it, but then for the same price, we can afford this building. So to me, this was almost an insult to the comments of financially we can't take care of the communication issues we have here.
Okay, thank you. Maybe that'll be addressed here somewhat, but as for right now, Mr. Miller, you are on, please.
At the,
I got, okay, I see Roger. Yeah, we got two Mr. Millers, but Roger, please, you're up.
We reviewed this as a Public Safety Committee. We took a look at their current situation, and their current situation is, it sucks. It's hazardous. We've got boxes up to the ceiling. Evidence is in another area that is unsecured. Evidence that has to be held in a secured area because of the high-profile investigations that are going on. We went backwards and forwards with this, and this has been going on for quite a few years. I'm voting for it, for an aye, because one, the Stockbridge and Muncie also are highly interested in coming there, I guess, and getting their evidence also, and getting it out of our area. And previously working at the public safety, it was jam-packed over there too, just like this place, and needs room. So it's well needed, and it's, I've talked to the sheriff and also to other personnel, and they said it'll be a long-range operation where there's flexibility into it in order to add more things into the secured area. That's why I am voting for it.
Okay, thank you, Roger. Now we go to this other Mr. Miller, Brent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At a public safety meeting, it was brought up by the Public Safety Committee that myself, the sheriff, the Buildings and Grounds Superintendent, and finance person look at the possibility of putting in an evidence storage building. This was, just so the board is clear, and just to reference something that Mr. Burkham just said, this was not initiated by the staff, but it was originally initiated by the Public Safety Committee. And our job is to give you the information so that you can make the best informed decision. We did go back and had multiple meetings with the Public Safety, the Public Property Committee, looking at the size, and at one time it was suggested to reduce the size down, and then the sheriff, through his works, has gotten the city and I believe Stockbridge to come on board and financially contribute to the project, and they will also be using the facilities. But we did meet with those two committees, and we had cut the building down at the request of the committee originally, and then it was at a joint meeting that the committees actually recommended that we bring it back to the original size that we brought in, and then the committees also recommended that we include the evidence lab as part of this. So then it went to the Finance Committee after they had recommended and looked at the plans. The Finance Committee, we looked at several different options, including short-term borrowing, whether we wanted to bond and include some other projects into this, and also using some of our CDs, because right now we're at the end of last year, we were at 32% on our general fund, and by our own policy, we should be at between 20 and 25%. We went back and looked at the CDs and how long it's been since we've actually took out one of those CDs, and it has been at least 5 years, and maybe Mr. Madsen knows that longer than that, I don't know. All I could find was 5 years, and we have not touched the CD, all they've done is grown. So what we recommended through the Finance Committee, and it was unanimous for those committee members there to go forward with it, was to use one CD of $500,000, a half of another CD for $250,000, $175,000 out of the general fund, and then $150 out of the capital improvements sales tax. Which the sales tax right now is almost at $1.9 million, and by our own resolution, we have to maintain $500,000 in there, so there will be ample money in there as we go through the year, continue to build that money up. So that is how we're at the resolution that we're at tonight, and with that, I'll turn it over to the sheriff then.
Good evening. I'm not going to take much of your time. I think most of you are well educated on this subject. It's been around for quite some time, and I think this plan, I think you can be confident in and will agree with. So I'm just going to go over some points real quick, and then I'll ask President Holsley to speak, and then Chief Dan Mull, and then anybody else, and we'll answer questions, and I'll quickly deflect to somebody else. The building has been requested since 2003. You all know that. It's temperature controlled. Ventilation is better for working environments for the employees. There's more room for to properly store the evidence. It has shelving racks and can store upwards. It's better integrity of the evidence, keeping it at one location. It meets current long-term needs. The location works for security requirements, frees up space at the highway department to park their equipment inside. Less time for evidence technician to travel to multiple areas for evidence storage. And it's up-to-date computer processing lab. We have paid in rent since 1998, $164,000 to date. The other reason I am for this plan is because I went out to the Stockbridge and the Shawano Police Department, reached out to them to see if we could combine our evidence needs and save money on this project. I cannot guarantee that they will contribute to this project. That is something that their leadership will have to all agree on and vote on. But I think we have come to an agreement that their leadership can vote yes to and support this joint effort, and I'm confident that it'll work out to everybody's benefit and be most efficient for taxpayers. So with that, I'm going to ask Shannon Holsley to speak. And I didn't tell them what to say, I asked them to show up, and they did.
Good evening, and thank you, Sheriff Bieber, and thank you, Chairman Erdman, for allowing me to be here to address your board this evening. As Sheriff Bieber had alluded to, we've had various conversations, and I'm sure you're well aware the fact that our police officers are cross-deputized, and our Tribal Nation offsets the police department with public safety officer labor in the amount of about $750,000 annually. So it speaks to our commitment, but it also speaks to our commitment to ongoing relationship building, as I had spoke to Chairman Erdman earlier, and continuously have spoken to Brent and to Sheriff Bieber about our commitment. We live in this community, we are the largest employer in this community, and we understand that in order to support a community, you also must support its infrastructure. And with doing so, you must do things to advance the needs and protect, as Sheriff Bieber said, the integrity of what it is. And whether we like it or not, we all know that drug offenses and crimes are continuing to happen. Whether we do these things or take the right steps, it still is an endemic, and I'm very encouraged by the items that were on your agenda, although not being taken up, your forward thinking in that. And I want to say to you also, we understand and recognize that it is a heavy burden, as one gentleman had stated, with regards to setting those priorities and how do you justify it. And one lady spoke of, what is the return on investment, because we all have constituents to answer to, and we all have things we have to do and we have to justify. But believe me, Stockbridge-Muncie community has had numerous conversations as to our commitment and what we can do, whether it be in resources. And I go to Washington, D.C. often. We get a lot of our funding through Department of Justice, and we do not only lobby on behalf of our police department, but Shawano County's police department, because we are interjoined and we understand the importance of it, of public health and safety, and we are committed to doing that and improving things. And so I hope this is one of many things that we can continue to work on collectively, both in this arena and many others. But I will say we do, because, it took some convincing. I'm not just a person that's going to say, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I did do the diligence. We talked about it. We understand what it is. We are currently going through our budgetary processes. It sounds very much like you are also. And we're setting our priorities and we're doing different things. But I will say that the Tribal Council is extremely committed, and the Mohican Nation is extremely committed in assisting Shawano, and not only this way, but in various ways. And I think we need to open up our communication and find ways to collectively work together, because you get together, everybody achieves more, and you get more done when you leverage and you work collectively towards the common goal. We want a safe community. We want a desirable community where everybody wants to live and work and feel safe. And unfortunately, in that building of infrastructure, sometimes these things like evidence storage buildings are a necessary evil of that process. So we do fully support that, and we will find ways collectively to work, both maybe in kind and some financial resources to do that. But again, I appreciate your time this evening for allowing me the platform to express, our commitment to all of you and our desire to work with you on not only this, but future projects, because we think it's important. And we understand that there's a limitation to your resources, just as they are to ours. But we are also committed to our citizens, and we don't just consider our Native American enrolled citizens that live on reservation as our citizens. We are committed to the citizens of Shawano County. So I just want to express that, and thank you for allowing me the platform this evening to to express our support for this endeavor and continue the good work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Lindsay, and thank you for your great leadership, too.
That's a tough act to follow. Good evening. I want to thank Sheriff Bieber for inviting me here tonight. I'm Interim Police Chief Dan Mull. We were invited to a meeting about 6 months ago, I think, and offered an opportunity to listen to what the county had to offer us as far as our evidence storage. Over the months, we realized that it's going to be a good collaboration, a good partnership, and a good thing to do. I can't stand here tonight and tell you that we're going to go ahead and go into this, because I can't. It has to go through our committees and our Common Council. They have the authority to say yes or no, obviously. But I can stand here and tell you that I will recommend, and we are in a position to recommend, that we take on this collaborative effort and partnership for 3 reasons. One, we're going to need the storage eventually anyway, and we are looking at a long-range plan of building needs and assessments. And 2, It will alleviate 3 of our officers having to spend countless hours doing the job of one person who does a wonderful job. And that's my third point, is Ann Holcomb. We get her services with this storage facility. In my mind, it is a good deal for us. It's fair, it's equitable, and it's a good deal for the Sheriff's Department and the taxpayers. So that's about all I can give you. Hopefully, if you have any questions, I'll still be here to answer some of them.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Mr. Parker?
Obviously, I don't have a stake in the economic aspect of building the evidence building, but we have, as Adam has said, been dealing with this since 2003 and probably even before. We all know that when it comes to evidence for any criminal case, evidence is something that makes the case rise or fall, and that is from the inception of collecting it and to the end of keeping it. And we know that, for example, we've had cases where we've had to keep it for a statutory time period, and I remember a lot of questions about, well, why do they have to keep this many pot plants and those kinds of things? Because unfortunately the law doesn't allow us to take photographs of those types of things and then hold on to that. We have to have the actual storage we have to have the actual evidence in storage, so that if the defense wants to test it, they have the opportunity to test it, and we don't face legal problems in the courts. But I think under the circumstances, this is probably the most efficient manner in which to have this building constructed in the area across the street. It'll be efficient for the courts in the situation. Let's say we have to have a jury view, which we've had before. We have to have the jurors go out. So, and there are a number of other things that I could sit here and tell you about, but sometimes when we talk about the law, it's like watching the grass grow, and that's really not too exciting. So, in any event, I support the evidence building, and I looked at the plans and such. I think that locating it across the lot by the Sheriff's Department is probably in the best interests of efficiency for the court system and the District Attorney's Office as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg Parker. Ann, George?
I think we, just for questioning.
Okay, well then let's open it up for questioning. Let's see. Deb Nofke, do you have a question of one of the individuals or all of them?
Well, actually, my light was blinking from way before. I just wanted to say, because I heard one of the speakers thank us many times for the opportunity to speak to us tonight, and I just wanted to say to the chairwoman that thank you for joining us. It's really nice to put a face to the name you read about in the paper.
Okay, let's move forward. Bonnie Olson.
Well, I guess I kind of got my question answered. I got the introduction, Shannon. I didn't even catch the last name, and I assumed you were representing the Stockbridge tribe, but I have no idea who you were.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. We will become familiar with each other, I'm sure, in the future.
And so you are
I'm the tribal president.
tribal president?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, moving forward. Kathy Lipke.
Yeah, this might be a Tony question. A few years back, this board approved a plan for a building, but we failed in the funding. Do we have to now, null and void that plan?
No,
I mean, we've had so many plans out here that...
I hate to see if we had to go back and rescind all of our plans that we've had on a whole bunch of things, but no, you're free to move forward. It's a good question. And you notice we've actually combined the funding into the approval of the project this time, rather than last time we approved the plan, came back next month, and tried to approve funding, and it didn't work. So it's a better approach this time.
Okay, and this plan is being built for the understanding that the Stockbridge and the city is coming in? But I'm hearing we don't have any financial commitment for them at this time?
I think they're waiting for us to get our business in order.
Okay.
I believe that the city will. I know what their needs are. They know what their needs are. We offered them a very fair offer and plan, and me personally speaking, it'd be foolish for them not to take this deal. And I believe the city council, and I've talked to members of them about this, and Mayor Krantz is in the back, they are very excited to work with us on this project. They obviously cannot promise us anything because we don't even know if this is going to go tonight. It's up to you. So we have to proceed first, and then we can really move on from there.
Okay, and then the last thing is, I've been getting some calls the last week or so, again, same as Bill, thank you. You know, we have money all of a sudden for evidence, but our communication has been really lacking lately, and we found that just 2 weeks ago in my neck of the woods, so, you know, I'm struggling. We do need this evidence. Since I've been on this board, how many years that was an issue? And now communication is getting to be a big issue. If we can't take care of our communication, we better build a bigger building because we'll have more evidence to take care of.
Can I say one thing on with the towers? And I told Mr. Burke on this earlier today. The KIP committee and public safety bought repeaters for different fire departments to put in there. And several of the fire departments on the east side of the county refused to take them. And
I don't want to get into it, but
the fire departments that took them
had issues.
No, we have not received any complaints that they're telling us, and all we were here
I
for...
hope they show up, is it tomorrow with Natalie, because
Yes.
I've heard complaints.
But can I go back to your other question? What was your second question, Kathy?
Building it for the other entities.
Oh, and what I wanted to touch on, and maybe Arlen could address this too, but the finance committee is moving forward with us funding the whole thing right now, and as we receive the money back from the city or Stockbridge, or both, that we would replenish the general fund and the sales tax. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I guess it is up to us to prove that we are truly going to do this. So, okay, let's move forward. Gene Hoppy, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Since 2003, we've been trying to find an evidence building. We have spent countless money on trying to get a place. We had a citizens group. We've done everything, and we've come up with nothing. We're supervisors, and supervisors are supposed to manage. And I don't know why, when all the other counties got this, we're playing along with this. I'm telling you, this is a very good group of supervisors, and they got good heads on their shoulders, but this is something we need. And if it's something else that you need radios or something, put it in CIP. But look at getting this done. This is close to the courthouse. Another thing, charged out the time would take if we moved it out on the work release center. It don't work. This is the most economical place we can put it. We're good supervisors, we all get together, we know we need it, and the people are asking why the heck we're not doing it. So let's get this thing done, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Gene. Moving forward, Bob Kraus, please.
I guess I'm going to call on Ann Holcomb to put her on the spot. Not really on the spot, just a question. I had the privilege, and I do call it a privilege, on working on the last plan and working with you for months and months, and this plan looks a lot like the last plan. Are you feeling comfortable, because I do respect your opinion, you're the person using it, you're the person that's going to work with it. Are you feeling comfortable with the plan that's being presented? I don't expect you to like it. Satisfied, comfortable? How do you feel?
I'm satisfied. This is what's needed. It's been needed. This is be a long-term thing that we're looking at here. And this here will make sure that Shawano County's evidence is stored properly and correctly per state statutes. And I looked it over. You know, we had some tweaks, but everything is according to state statute, and it will work.
Okay, thank you very much, and I will support this plan.
I think one of the biggest things, Ann, is our need for DNA storage has really increased, has it not?
Yes. Right now, I have 3 freezers, 2 refrigerators, and they're all individual ones. We have to pretty much keep DNA until either the suspect or victim is deceased. We get From the Innocence Project out of Madison, we get a lot of old cold cases that are come forward, and most of the time, yes, we still are holding that evidence, which they are very surprised of, because we're doing it by state statute.
And this is one thing I don't believe we really looked into last time or the last previous time. This time, this has come up and we really need to take care of it.
The state just came up with sexual assault kits. It's mandatory. We had a relook at all the sexual assault kits we have ever taken in since day one. Right now, the state is testing over 6,000 untested sexual assault kits. Shawano County just submitted 20 of them. So that's stuff that we have to hold on to until the victim reaches 45, or they pass away, or the victim passes away. We're looking at long-term storage.
Okay, let's move forward. Tom Madsen, do you have a comment or a question, please?
Just a comment, really. I agree with Gene, this is long in coming, there's no doubt about that. I was part of it 5 years ago, and it's finally getting done, and that's great to hear. The other thing I just want to address is that I think it's very good that we're having a joint effort, that the tribe, the city, the county get together. This is what we need in small counties and small rural areas like this, is that we need unity. And we need to collaborate with other municipalities. So I just want to comment, I think it's a great idea that we're getting together with other municipalities to make this thing work.
I think it's due to Sheriff Bieber's
absolutely.
positive attitude and collaboration, bringing the other entities in, which
I
is...
agree more, yes.
Thank you. Let's see. Dennis Knack, please.
I'm not opposed. Back when the last one was proposed, I think I was the only county board member that toured the evidence storage, and it was needed back then. I was on tribal affairs too, and I know Stockbridge mentioned that they might be interested in donating, back then, before Sheriff Bieber was even elected. I was just wondering, now the estimate is about 350 plus thousand more than it was then. What kind of improvements are there, or why is it much better? Same size building and the same size secure storage.
The exterior is altogether different. Some of the interior is different, and as you can see on the drawing, now we have a walk-in freezer. Maybe Mr. Miller, you can speak to that more.
The other thing that this includes, Mr. Knack, is the lab portion of it. That was taken out last time, but that wasn't something we put in. That was at the recommendations of the joint committee to put that back in, because they said if we don't put it in now, when will we put it in? And just the other cost of the building materials, because it's not going down.
That it, Dennis?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Moving forward, Arlen Tober, please.
Yeah, so financing, we was looking about financing this project. We were thinking too, possibly of borrowing money. There would be approximately 2%, and we're getting around 60.65% on our CDs, and most of them haven't been used, like Brent says, for 5 or more years. So we thought we'd go with that and then save all that interest money on there. We can use it if we ever build something else, if interest is cheap, but right now at 0.65 to 2, that's quite a bit of difference in money. And I also wanted to know, you said this would be a long-term project, a long-term solution. What are we talking about, 10 years, 50 years, or?
And some of our interest is going to be changing though, thanks to the county board, yeah.
we did figure out the return on investment for what we're currently charging and versus what it would take, the return on investment for this, and so I will turn it over to Nita to explain this.
All right, so the top half is how much time it's taking our staff to travel between the sheriff's office and the evidence storage building now. So we spend approximately $24,000 a year in wasted time of them having to go out to another place to do evidence storage, get their stuff. Additional stuff, there's $2,500 in mileage that we're spending. And in rent fees, they're paying out $20,000 a year, so they're spending, the one thing we'll have is a loss because the rental house will be torn down, and that's $7,200 a month. So I'm taking that out of our expenses. So total expenses for a year for the evidence storage building that the sheriff's office is spending now is roughly $39,000. At the cost of the new building, I put in $1,062,000 because that's what our costs are per year. The ROI would be 27 years, so we'd have our money back in 27 years. Basically, on a building, we depreciate at 40 years, so we'd have a few years of savings. Total savings over that 40 years is $447,000. That's a significant amount of money to save our taxpayers.
Anybody? Okay, Kevin Conrad, do you have a question?
I guess, my thought is the county's kicked this around for 14 years, spent endless money talking about it, designs, and we got other organizations and communities that want to help us, and I think we should move forward with it.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Randy Young.
Sorry, Jerry, mine was answered.
Oh, okay, no problem. Oh, not a light, Tom Kulza.
You're Mr. Richard, aren't you?
Richie. I go by the light flashing, and I didn't see the flash.
That's okay. As a member of the Public Safety Committee, I support this 100%. Some of the changes that were made in the plans were, they were talking about downsizing. We did take out some of the overhead doors and stuff like that. In the first plans, they had the piping in for a lab, but they never put the stainless steel in. Well, that was kind of, we're going backwards because in 5 years and they put the stainless steel in, it's going to cost you twice as much, so why not do it all at the same time? I support it 100%.
Okay, thank you, Richie. Bonnie Olson.
Yeah, I love the way you put the financing together. I think that it doesn't diminish what we did years ago, because it just, to me, looks like this is the time that's right now. Those past years, it just didn't feel right, and now it does. But my question is, I know that we cannot, it's not a definite about Stockbridge and the city, although it's something we can hope for. But can we be part of what that agreement is? Will they just make this part of their payment or part of their donation, and then they get to use a certain portion of the building? Or do they pay rent for what they do use, or will they end up paying maintenance, or is this just they get to use whatever they want after they... I guess I'd like to know what that agreement is all about.
Bonnie, Tony has already drafted an agreement, and I believe the city's already looked at it, correct, Tony?
I don't know what level it's been through at the city, but I think we've got folks here from the city can answer that. I know it hasn't been approved by the council, but I think staff has looked at it, found it agreeable, and basically what the notion is, to answer your question, Bonnie, is there would be a lump sum contribution up front in return for an agreement to utilize a specified amount of space within the facility.
And is there any further maintenance or anything on that space? Are they, is that their part that they have to do upkeep on, or is it just all part of the big?
Again, for the lump sum, they would get the opportunity to use that part of the space. There wouldn't be an opportunity to convert maintenance obligations to them because we're the ones who would own the building and still have primary use of the building. But the proposed amount is certainly a substantial one and would take into consideration all those obligations that the county has, but it would be a one-time payment.
Including a percentage of utilities, that's all kind of figured in there?
Yeah, and we'll certainly, as it comes through, make you aware of it, and ultimately, I would think you'd probably have to approve it, not just the Public Safety Committee. So we don't mean to be mysterious about it, but the fact of the matter is it hasn't been approved by the city, so we're still in a negotiation process with them. But I think you'll take a look at it and see that in return for the space that we would commit to them, their donations would cover in part the cost of the building and for maintenance in the future.
So when that donation, if and when it should come in, would we have to approve accepting that? On what condition?
Yeah, any agreement that is reached would have to be approved by the council and the county board from that standpoint.
Okay.
So, and I think the officer had mentioned that it's still going through that process at the city level.
If I can clarify, the city administrator, the mayor, and several other of the department heads have been involved in the discussions, so they're aware of it. We just don't want to put the cart in front of the horse by saying that that we can fund this when the people that fund it for us are the ones that make that decision. And we don't want, we don't want to diminish what they are, because that's what you folks are doing right now. And you wouldn't want the sheriff going over to the city and saying, we're going to give you this amount of money without even checking with you folks. So but we do have the city administrator, the mayor, and several other department heads that were involved in the negotiations from the start, and they're well aware of what's going on, and think that think it's a good idea and think it'll go forward. That's all I can give you from that.
Okay.
On that point, we already store Stockbridge's, all their evidence right now. And from time to time, the city does have vehicles in our impound until we kick them out when we're out of space for certain accidents and crashes. So they're already sort of using our stuff, and this is just better. They're going to be contributing hopefully down the road.
One thing I can add too is, I think Sheriff will agree, is that we certainly will continue to work with the tribe and the city, but even if those things don't happen the way we want, this is still a necessary project and something that can be reasonably recommended tonight, not contingent upon that, okay?
I think there was a sunset possibly in that agreement. After 20 years, they can walk away if they wanted to, or they can extend it. Brian Knapp was very candid. There might be an elevated, I don't know what the terminology is, an elevator status in there. If we were ever to build on, if our evidence needs...
Escalator.
Escalator, there
Different
you go.
form of transportation.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. If we ever have to build on and they still want to be in, they would come in on a certain percentage and it would escalate from there, so...
Okay, let's move forward. Tom Kautza, back to you.
Dennis wasn't the only one that took the tour. I took it also. And I was led around inside the sheriff's department to various little office spaces and closets and other things that were packed right to the top with different boxes and everything else. Now just think about if you was to show that tour to the average person who was going to be on a jury. I would figure that would be the easiest way to tell them you got everything mixed up and the case should be thrown out, because it is a mess right now if you take that tour. It's everywhere. You say it's safe and secure, nobody's going to believe that, not the way it's done.
I know I looked at it possibly 7 years ago, and yeah, it's from the floor to the ceiling.
Yep, and scattered in various rooms, whatever space they got left, they got something tucked.
Sure.
I got one other question, or two along with that, is has anybody discussed how the building would be built if we approve it tonight? A general contractor versus hiring someone to manage the project as a project manager. I would think the project manager would save us quite a bit of money.
I would agree. I honestly don't know that we've had those discussions. Do you guys, I mean...
I thought Huber was doing it.
What?
I know Brent and I have talked about having like individual, a project manager.
Project manager, and then he could sublet, because most general contractors nowadays, that's all they do.
Well, and to your point, Mr. Coates, I have used, in the Human Services, just approved a guy to come in and do a study over there on the space needs of whether or not they decide to co-locate or not. But in every county I've been in before, we used a project manager on a $14 million bond for a new highway facility and new Human Services building. There was one change order. That's it, and because I believe that the project manager, because they work for the county, and nothing against the general contractor, but the general contractor can't write any change orders they want then.
Great.
So I agree with you.
I would hope that if it passes, that's the way it's handled, through public safety, because that's the cheapest way.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Deb Nofke.
Oh, boy. Okay. Just so everyone knows, yes, in finance, I voted to send this resolution to the board, but not necessarily to endorse it, because I don't know that we need $1 million shed. As Mr. Miller pointed out, Brent, not you, Roger, at the beginning, this time it was not the staff that grew it to this size. It was from within the committee. We had a couple of very vocal people, and that's how it became the size it is again. On the radios, I can identify with, because I've heard the calls and the complaints too that Bill mentioned. However, that is a completely different subject. And I guess I remember sitting here years ago when we had a simulcast grant that the fire departments received for, it was $750,000, I believe. And there's a little Motorola guy standing here in shiny shoes guaranteeing us we were going to have 95% coverage. And somebody ought to hold his feet to the fire and say, make it so, because there have been nothing but, firemen aren't going to complain that something doesn't work unless it really doesn't work. You know, you got to kind of feel for those guys. But that should be a separate issue. I guess the part that I find kind of difficult on this is this cost analysis. We're not going to cut these people's hours. We're not going to save that money. The highway allocation in there, that cost is still there. It's just one department billing another. In fact, the highway department is going to lose $17,000 worth of revenue. There's no maintenance, as Bonnie touched on the agreement with the city, or an agreement with the Stockbridge, because I think you probably should put it in writing if you're going to come up with an agreement, so everybody really understands what the obligations are. There's no maintenance factored in here, and you're going to have to maintain a building. You have to, or we're going to end up with another thing like DCP. There are occupancy costs, you've got utilities. Right now, they've got something that's about the size of my living room that they've got all their evidence shoved in, which is too small, and I think everyone knows that. I have a problem with a building this size. But the glimmer of hope here is that as I was browsing Chapter 165-957 under the Department of Justice, and this was related to the drug court resolution that got pulled, there's a slug of money out there that we don't ask for, including things like new technology that we don't have. Well, presumably in this evidence building, you'd be adding something new that we don't have. Can somebody please get aggressive in applying for some of these grants?
You're 100% wrong on some of the grants, Ms. Nofke. Detective Kowalski just received a grant for some of the newest equipment in the internet, what do you call it? Computer forensics. And I want to say it was about $9,000 or $11,000 that he just received for that. So that's not a true statement to say that we're not applying for those grants. They are being applied for as they apply to us.
Did you hear what I said? I said
did hear what you
there's a
said.
glimmer of hope here, is that there's a slug of money out here that somebody's got to start asking for.
Is it, Deb? Yes? No? Sure. Okay, thank you. Moving forward. Ray Phelan.
Yeah, you know that if you have somebody convicted of a crime and you have the evidence, you definitely have to keep that evidence almost like for perpetuity, because he can file a motion to redo his trial or whatever. He can bring that back anytime he wants, because some attorney will go and bite on that. And if you don't have the evidence in the chain of evidence kept, you're going to lose the case, and you'll let criminals out of jail. And we can't afford to leave them out. We can't afford to keep them in, but we can't afford to leave them out either.
And attorneys have kids that need shoes on their feet.
There you go.
Okay, Dennis Knack.
I was just wondering, the estimate of the cost, did you get any bids, or you feel comfortable? Is that pretty accurate estimate?
I feel personally myself it's accurate, as close as we can get, given the information and the individual who proceeded to write all this up.
Yes. You're right on. You're spot on.
Is that Nardine?
Yes. Yes. Is that it, Dennis?
Yeah.
Okay. Back to Tom Kotza.
When Deb brought it up about the highway department losing their revenue, but if we get the space back, I think it was about 3 years ago, wasn't it, Kevin? We took and we bought some material out of our own budget and put one lean-to up ourselves for storage. And then last year, I believe, we just closed out Dollar Kip for another lean-to for more storage. So I'm not going to say it's going to solve the needs out there at the highway department forever, but if we get the space back, we will have a good use for it.
And if you get the space back, your equipment is going to be stored inside, because anytime you store equipment outside, what happens? It looks like, you know what? And even though it may be workable, if it looks bad, you get less money. So put it inside and let it look good, even though it may be wore out, you're still going to get more money.
And it does deteriorate faster.
It does.
Can I just quickly talk about the space at the highway department? The space is 89 feet long by 70 feet. We're building a 60-foot, and it'll be by 60 feet long. Yeah, 120, but that's what that office is. Right now, we're building less space for what we have at the highway department. So we're not building anything really extravagant or big. Right. The room that we currently store in, that is smaller, we're going to triple that size. And everybody that's toured that know that we need to do that. And it is big enough to fit Shawano PD's evidence in and Stockbridge also.
That it, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Moving forward, John Ainsworth, please.
Thank you. First of all, it's refreshing to hear the municipalities cooperating. We have to keep in mind that the citizens of Shawano and the citizens of Stockbridge are also citizens of the county. And so this is, in a way, partly their project, but it really is refreshing compared to a few years ago, how we are cooperating. There seems to be nearly unanimous support for more room. However, from time to time, we have been told that this is going to save money. The budget for the county will not be smaller because of this. We will not save dollars and cents. We'll have the same number of employees, they'll get the same wage, we will have upkeep on the building, we will have maintenance of the building, we will have heat, we will have light. Obviously, we'll save some rent at the highway department, but of course, the highway department won't have that income. So for the county, that's a wash. There still will be some trips to somewhere to retrieve vehicles from time to time. Not as many, but there will be some, because, as the sheriff just indicated, we won't be building as much room as they are now occupying. The equipment that the county highway department normally stores outside the bulk of it is the, what could I say, non-motorized equipment, the snowplows and so forth. The bigger value equipment is stored inside. The people should not be misled in the fact that we're having high-priced road graders and trucks and so forth stored outside. That's generally not the case. And what is stored outside, snowplows and so forth, are either out in the rain or out in the snow and salt in the winter. So, they obviously deteriorate faster when they're out in the snow and salt than they do in the summer rain. So some of these things are needed. There's no doubt we need the storage, but we should vote on this with our eyes open. Some of the presentations about saving money are irrelevant, completely irrelevant.
Okay, thank you, John.
Something?
Go ahead.
They are not wrong. When you talk about this, the employees are getting paid the same price, this is for non-productive time over a year. Non-productive time where they're not moving evidence, where they're not doing something. And this isn't to your comment, Mr. Ainsworth, this is to Ms. Novke's comment, because she was just swearing about this. But this is about non-productive time. It's not about the time that Ann is sitting there doing this, doing that. This is about the time that she spent traveling back and forth with either a deputy or a detective to go look at their equipment.
But the fact is, our budget will not be less because of this building. These people are still going to be employed full-time and paid as much.
Okay, thank you, John. Kathy Lipke, back to you.
First of all, since Ann's come on board, she's done a wonderful job organizing. So from pre-Ann to post, there's a big change in how it's been stored. So nice job. Secondly, if you're going to build it big enough. Because what is this, 2003 is when we started this?
We weren't even on the board.
I know, so whatever year that was, if it would have been passed then, it would have been paid off, and maybe it would have been just the right size. By the time we decide we need another one, it still isn't going to be big enough, so let's, build it properly.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Tom Madsen, back to you.
I don't want to belabor the point, but, like Kathy said, we've been working on this since 2003. I was in social services in 2003 as a supervisor. That's how long ago it was. We're government. We're going to spend money. And this has been long in coming. How much money have we spent trying to plan for this thing? When I was the administrative coordinator, I think we had at least 3 or 4 plans given to us, and those weren't cheap. Let's get off dead center and build this thing.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Anybody else? And I will have to admit, I'm supporting this, and I'm supporting this because we are not borrowing the money. We need the building, we have the funds, we've been putting funds back, and I will support this. As long as we're not putting extra burden on the taxpayers, it should be done. Any up here wishing to comment yet? Otherwise, I thank you all. Dan, Ann, President Holsey, thank you very much. You're welcome. Greg Parker. Okay. Since there are no other comments, if you are in favor of resolution number 36-17, you would vote A. If you're opposed, you vote nay, please. Thank you very much. This has been one thing this board needed to get done, and I wish, once again, those people in the back, Dan Law, thank you. Mayor Krantz, thank you. President Holsey, thank you. We are moving forward. Okay, let's move on to item number 10 on our agenda, resolution number 38-17.
Approving the purchase and funding of the municipal web receiving portal. Now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 28th day of June 2017 that it authorizes procuring and implementing the municipal web receipting portal program for the Shawano County Treasurer's Office starting in 2017, as well as the transfer of $12,000 from the general fund to the Shawano County Treasurer's 2018 budget to cover such costs submitted by the Finance Committee.
Is there a motion to approve this resolution? Motion by Kevin Conrad, seconded by Randy Young. Comments or questions, anybody? Kathy Lipke.
Yeah, I should have done some little more research on this, but Deb's here. How is that going to affect the local treasurers that live in outlying areas that don't have internet and stuff like that?
Deb, would you come forward, please? Use the microphone. You're a little soft-spoken in the back, so...
I can't speak for that kind of technology, but all I know is that the lady that I talked to, that's my go-to person from Transcendent, did say that she has contacted some of these treasurers that live out in the Pickers that don't have good service, and a lot of them have the lowest level of service, so they need to, some of them need to just bump up to the higher level, but that's the only comment that I've heard.
What if you have no service?
Is there any service at the town halls?
We rent from the church.
Oh, you rent from the church. So you have no service where you're at?
My house.
Yeah.
But I'm not the treasurer.
Oh, that's right.
I'm just wondering, all of a sudden, how is it going to affect the municipalities by something the county's doing?
It
I
has
have
been...
a feeling Dennis is asking the same question.
It has been brought up, but I don't have the answer for that. I just know that I know some of them need to get up to a higher level, higher speed, but that's the only comments I've heard from Christie.
This isn't going to hurt the municipalities, though, at all.
It shouldn't, no. Actually, it's going to make it better. It's going to make it easier for them. The program is set up so that when they do the entering of the taxes onto it, it's going to bring it right into our system. So we're going to be up to date. So all the questions that you guys incur as treasurers will have up-to-date information right away when you get phone calls. A treasurer will get phone calls. So it's going to save them a lot of time, and especially when we settle, they have to drop this information into like our like a web thing, or they can bring us a little zip thing, or they can send it in an email. We've had a lot of issues with a lot of the treasurers this last year that just couldn't make it happen. So we just did whatever we could to get that information to us and upload it. This will cut that all out.
That is, Kathy? Okay, thank you. Dennis Knack.
The $12,000 is a one-time
deal.
Fee. And on the add-ons, we don't use the barcode. So we don't have to pay?
No, it's totally up to you. We have them, they're really nice to have, but no, you do not have to have them.
And we had talked to other counties, our treasurer, I made her aware of it, and everybody was really happy with the program. And it's also two-way for the treasurer can get to your office and get the numbers.
Yes.
When we have a title search or something, we can find out if the second payment's made.
Yes.
So.
Sounds like it's a good deal. Anybody else comment, excuse me, or question on resolution number 38-17? I see none. So if you are in favor of resolution number 38-17, you vote A. If you're opposed, you vote nay, please. (27 A's, 0 nays), so resolution number 38-17 has been adopted. Moving on to item 11, we have resolution number 39-17. Please, Pam.
To amend Appendix B of the Personnel Policies. Now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 28th day of June 2017 that they approve the revisions to Appendix B of the Shawano County Personnel Policy and Procedures Manual concerning vehicle usage. A summary of the revisions in Appendix B include modifications to the general vehicle use policy and operator requirements, as well as the insertion of directions concerning the reservation and use of fleet vehicles, among other smaller modifications, consistent with the County Board's prior resolution adopting the fleet vehicle use system, submitted by the Administrative Committee.
Is there a motion to approve this resolution? Motion by John Zwizik, seconded by Amy Zeinert. Comments or questions? This resolution basically came around, I believe, because we are now in the lease program, correct, Brent? Tony? Okay. So, anybody comment or question? I see none, so if you are then in favor of resolution number 39-17, you'd vote A. If you're opposed, you vote nay, please. (27 A, 0 nays), so resolution number 39-17 has also been adopted. Item 12 on our agenda, we have resolution number 40-17. Please, Pam.
Recommending change in unemployment compensation rules. Now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 28th day of June, 2017, that it requests the governor, legislature, and the Department of Workforce Development to come together to promulgate clear, fair rules regarding unemployment and seasonal workers. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be sent to Governor Walker, the Shawano County Legislative Delegation, Wisconsin Counties Association, and all Wisconsin counties, submitted by Gerald Erdman, Shawano County Board Chair.
Could I have a motion to approve this resolution? Motion by Bob Carl, seconded by Tom Madsen. Comments or questions, anybody? Tom Madsen, please.
I just want to say, Mr. Chairman, I applaud you for doing this. This is great. I think it's fantastic. The fact that that the state is making people who are already employed to apply for employment because they happen to be seasonal workers is just an obscenity. So good for you. I think it's a great resolution.
One has to be proactive. Keep moving forward one step at a time. Bob Carls, please.
And I also support the resolution, and it doesn't affect just counties, it affects a lot of different businesses in our county. My question, though, is, does it really affect us as a county? Do we have seasonal workers? We do.
We do. The Highway Department has a good number of them, and a lot of them are retired drivers that just come back for the summer. The Parks Department has a lot of seasonal. Our Maintenance Department, right now mowing lawn for us, is our former 4-H director, who's retired. So, yes, you have a lot of seasonal workers that come in. We have a lot of college students that come in. So we do have a large number. And Tom, Kelsey, do you know the number over at Highway that we have? I think maybe it's 10 or 12.
Right, I was on the assumption that they were LTEs and they weren't able to collect unemployment.
They can apply.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Anybody else? Comment or question, please, on resolution number 40-17? I see none on the board, so if you are in favor of resolution number 40-17, you'd vote A. If you're opposed, you vote nay, please. (26A1) nays. Resolution number 40-17 has been adopted. Moving on to item number 13 on our agenda. We have resolution number 41-17. Please, Pam.
Approve a zone change for Jerome Alt. Now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 28th day of June 2017 that it approves the zone change as follows. Jerome Alt requests a zone change on a 3.32 acre parcel from farmland and forest preservation to agriculture residential. The property is located in the town of Fairbanks, submitted by the Planning Development and Zoning Committee.
Do I have a motion to approve this resolution? Motion by John Zwizik, seconded by Steve Dietz. I'm going to ask Ken to comment on this, please, if you would, Ken.
Yes, this is a zone change. This gentleman would like to construct a home And if it passes tonight, the home will start tomorrow. He wants to get this thing going, and he was surprised he had to wait since the public hearing to the county board meeting tonight to approve a zone change, but
I know he was in a hurry when he called me, and I said, you first get it through the town board, get forwarded to the PD&Z. He wants to get married. They want to build a house. Really good already?
Yes.
Okay, good deal.
Story behind that, though.
No, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. No, thank you. Okay, so he wants to construct another home. Good deal. Deb Nofke, you have a comment or question?
Yeah, on that same vein, if the town says sure, and the committee says sure, it's the guy's land, he wants to build a house, there's got to be some way we can fast-track these things. You know?
I don't know. Bob, is there a fast way to do this other than the process?
Not with these zoning, state statute requires county board approval.
Yeah, okay, Bob, thank you very much.
I mean, it's his land, it's his, you know?
I know, but is it really our land?
Well, yeah, okay.
That it, Deb?
Yep.
Thank you. Anybody else comment or question on resolution number 41-17 at this time? I see none, so if you are in favor of resolution number 41-17, you vote A. If you're opposed, you vote nay, please. Yeah, do we really own our properties? We pay taxes on them, but that's it. 27 ayes, 0 nays, so resolution number 41-17 has also been adopted. Item 14 on our agenda, we have resolution number 42-17. Please, Pam.
Approve a zone change for Gene Soper Family Trust. Now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 28th day of June 2017 that it approves a zone change as follows. Gene Soper Family Trust requests zone change from hamlet and open lands agriculture residential to commercial general on a 2.04 acre parcel located in the town of Green Valley, submitted by the Planning, Development, and Zoning Committee.
Could I have a motion to approve this resolution? Motion by Bob Kraus, seconded by Deb Nofke. At this time, I'm going to ask Steve Dietz to comment on this one. Please, Steve.
Okay, this is add this parcel to their commercial property at Smike's Plumbing in Pulsifer, and they just want to add that so they have more storage area and so forth.
Okay, very good, thank you. Bob Kraus, comment, question?
Yeah, being from the town, this is something that's come before us for quite a while now. We're working at revising our comprehensive plan, but we kind of pushed this ahead before those. It really is to clean, it's all owned by the trust, more or less. It's was zoned hamlet. They wanted to go back to, they wanted to get to commercial, but they needed to get the property lines to encompass all of their operations, so this is pretty clean.
Okay.
You have a revised map on your table that shows how once the zoning is changed, they can actually change the size of their parcel.
Bob handed that out. Thank you, Bob. John Ainsworth, do you have a comment or question, please?
Yes, I'd just like to comment. This one makes more sense than any one we've done so far because it's a commercial building in a commercial territory. I fully support development in that respect and not like another one we have out in nowhere again, third time in that township.
Okay, thank you, John. Anybody else comment or question on resolution number 42-17 at this time? Seeing none, if you are then in favor of resolution number 42-17, you would vote A. If you're opposed, you vote nay, please. Who hasn't voted yet? There we go. 27 ayes, 0 nays, so resolution number 42-17 has also been adopted. Item 15 on our agenda tonight, we have resolution number 43-17. Please, Pam.
To approve a zone change for Yoder and Borntrager. Now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 28th day of June 2017 that it approves the zone change as follows. Samuel Borntrager agent for Owen Yoder, owner, requests zone change on a 3.34 acre parcel from farmland and forest preservation to agriculture residential. The property is located in the town of Washington, submitted by the Planning, Development, and Zoning Committee.
Could I have a motion to approve this resolution? Motion by Randy Young, seconded by Deb Nofke. Once again, Ken, would you do the honor, please? This is in the town of Washington.
Yes, this land, if you look at the map, it's located right on County Trunk E, about a half a mile from Highway 117. And they would like to construct a residence there.
Okay. Thank you, Ken. Anybody else comment or question, please, on Resolution 43-17 at this time? Seeing none, if you are in favor of said Resolution 43-17, you vote A. If you're opposed, you vote nay, please. (27A, 0 nays), so resolution number 43-17 has also been adopted. Item 16 on our agenda is annual reports. You have the Sheriff's Department annual report along with the Shawna-Menominee County Health Department annual reports. If you have any questions, please contact those departments, otherwise they will be placed on file in the clerk's office. Moving on then to item 17 on our agenda, we have the report of the Finance Committee on general accounts and claims. Please, Pam.
General accounts paid May 2nd through June 5th, 2017, in the amount of $425,858.32.
Could I have a motion to approve general accounts? Motion by Ray Phelan. Could I have a second? Second by John Zwizik. Comments or questions, anybody on general accounts? I see none. If you are then in favor of paying tonight's general accounts, you'd vote A. If you're opposed, you vote nay, please. (27A, 0 nays), so paying general accounts has been approved. Item 18, approval of the committee minutes as submitted. Could I have a motion to approve these, please? Motion by Amy Zeinert. Could I have a second? Seconded by Richard Furfecke. Comments or questions on the committee minutes? Anybody? Marvin Klosterman, please.
I know it isn't on any committees that are involved with this county, with the county, but on page 50, it appears that the minutes for the Nutrition Council are from a year ago instead of 2017. And the only reason I noticed it is when they talked about the recognizing the living treasures, and I thought they changed them all of a sudden that we approved from last week, or last month.
Wrong date, maybe? Pam? Or was it just that far back? They only meet once a year, Pam?
No, they meet like quarterly. I'm assuming that they just put the wrong date on it.
They can't be because the living treasures are much different than what we approved last
Oh,
month.
yes. Those are last year's.
That's what I thought.
Okay. Well, we'll have
I
to,
can only publish what they give us.
okay.
I will check on it. That's all I can
And Pam will,
check with them.
Pam will check on it, Marvin, okay? Anybody else comment or, Dennis, connect?
I had a comment on the June 20th Highway Department. When I was on the Highway Committee, we didn't meet twice a month if it wasn't really needed. It seems like that meeting, there wasn't anything, couldn't have waited 2 weeks till the next one to be approved. I'm not sure, maybe there was, but it didn't appear from the minutes.
Okay.
Was necessary.
Tom, Kautza, care to comment on that? No? Okay.
Not going to meet at the beginning of next month because it was really not important. We usually don't unless there's something to...
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Comment or questions, please, on the committee minutes as submitted? I see none. We have a motion and a second by acclamation, and all in favor say aye. Aye. Pose same sign, motion carried. Item 19, board member comments on new business to be considered at a future meeting. Anybody have any? Gene Hoppy, whoop, your light went on and off. Richard Furfecke.
There has been some comments about communication on the east side of the county, and we will bring this up at the public safety meeting and see if we can find a solution to this and bring it to the county board.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, Roger Miller.
Yeah, I've just got, prior in life, I was a emergency manager and a public health preparedness coordinator for the Stockbridge Muncie community. Just got information this week that one of my proposals to put up 4 tornado sirens, one in Red Springs, one in Morgan, one up in the Stockbridge, and another one over by the casino, has been approved. Plus, I've been approved for a 120-person tornado shelter inside the areas up there. So a lot of these things that happen are mutual aid. I mean, I'm inviting Township of Bartlemy to join us, and if they need a tornado place to hide, come on over. I got a place for you.
Okay.
So that's been approved.
Thank you, Roger, and thank you for your hard work on that. That's what collaboration, communication does. Let's see, moving back to Gene Hoppy.
What is the status on our iPads?
The iPads, I believe, are in technology, correct, Brent? They are getting them ready, so hopefully they...
Waiting on training before they go out for...
We have them, they're in technology. Okay. When they get them set up, I would imagine we'll find out about it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gene. Let's see, Bob Crows, please.
2 things. First thing, I guess, I know we've done it in the past, and it's always bothered me, and since I brought my pajamas along, we're not done yet, so... Anyways, the long and short is item number 9 of just pulling it, even though it's on a public document that we've posted. Should be better if we acted on it and postponed it until next month, instead of just saying we pulled it, because under public record, we posted it, it was an agenda item, we need to act on it somehow, and I think that a motion to postpone it would be more in order than just pulling it.
Well, Mr. Cordes?
The way we did it today was absolutely appropriate. Technically speaking, you could call it and vote to postpone until next month, but in a case like this where we know in advance that somebody isn't showing up, it's up to the chair to actually remove it. If the chair wants to do it, you remove it before any of the other substantive agenda items have been called, so he can do it that way. If we got into the agenda on other resolutions, then it would require a majority vote of the supervisor. So it's a matter of preference. The way we did it tonight was just fine, but, it's up to the chair too. If he thinks it's something he wants a vote on, he can do it. Certainly, if we get into the agenda substantive items, then it has to be voted on, but we didn't get that far tonight.
That's fine. More of public information issue that if the public wants to know, why, well, obviously in the minutes it'll say why it was pulled, but...
And I didn't know about it until I arrived here tonight and talked to Tony, and with the district attorney and Judge Kissel recommending that we not discuss it or wait till next month. I thought that was the appropriate thing.
No, I think it is appropriate either way. I just wanted for the whole, sometimes we have some people in this county who tend to question how we do things, and I guess I'd rather do them that, they would say, where did that item go and what happened, et cetera, et cetera. I just thought it would be cleaner to do it that way, but I'm okay with that, just for that question.
If anybody asks, just say that the district attorney and the judge requested it get pulled.
Thank you. The other reason I wanted the floor was to thank a few people for as you know, Farm Bureau had their brunch on the farm, breakfast on the farm out in the western part of the county at the Dale and Deb Milking Farm. Of course, a great thank you to them, but also a thank you to all the people that attended. We had one of the largest turnouts we ever had in the western part of the county, well over 4,000 people. So, and everybody worked together, and in that, people like our extension office came out and volunteered and worked through the whole process. Special thank you to them, but also like the folks over there at the WIC program came out, put an educational booth out to let the people know what's available here at the county. So a lot of people come together to make that a great event, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Let's see, Deb Nofke.
To Bob's point on our rules, I think once it's in possession of the board, then only a member of the committee that sponsored it can pull it, but I don't think this was ever in possession of the board. If it was, then I'd say I'll second your motion, but I think if it's pulled before it ever got there.
True, Deb. That it, Deb?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, Kevin Conrad.
I was just going to make a comment on when the discussion comes up this fall for the rules for next terms. If you noticed our night meetings last month, I think we had 3 people here, and tonight we have 2 that weren't involved with the evidence storage. There's not a high attendance, whether it's night or day.
I was looking back actually on the resolution back in '09 on the evidence storage in January. You know what time the meeting was there? January, it was at 6 o'clock in the evening. So, you never know. I don't remember having evening meetings back then, but according to the resolution, and it was, so. Okay, let's move forward. Gene Hoppy, please.
Yes, I would like to thank Tony, Brent, and Oyvind Wistrom for doing such a great job in handling our court case and keeping us informed. I thought it was a great job, and you should get a good pat on the back for that. Thank you.
They're speechless. They're speechless. But it pretty much went the way they felt it would, so I'm happy to. Thank you, Gene. Anybody else on item number 19 at this time? Otherwise, we will move forward. I see none, so let's move forward then. Item 20, claim report of the County Board of Supervisors mileage and per diems for today's meeting. Pam, please.
Total amount paid out in mileage and per diem with 27 members present is $2,456.23.
Could I have a motion to approve mileage and per diems? Motion by Ray Phelan, he's always got his hand up first. Seconded by Steve Dietz. If you are in favor then of paying mileage and per diems for today's meeting, you would vote aye. If you're opposed, you vote nay, please. Ray, did you vote now?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Gene, did you vote? 27 ayes, 0 nays, so mileage and per diems has been approved. Item 21 on our agenda. Next county board meeting is July 26th. July 26th at 6 p.m. Make note of that.
6.
And with that, I would like to thank the board for the evidence storage vote, and a motion to adjourn would be in order. Motion by Tom Kautz, seconded by Arlen Tober. By acclamation, ladies and gentlemen, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
What would you expect?